Ruben, was that a step backwards for your team today?
Of course, when we lose, when we don't win, is a step back. But it was really hard with the send-off. The goal was similar against Tottenham, and then we tried even with the last one guy. We tried to. I think we were near of something more than Wolves of scoring the second one, and then in the end we tried everything, and then a transition was 2-0. But for us, let's continue.
Yeah, the first goal, obviously, it's another set piece. It's another goal direct from a corner. Is it particularly disappointing to concede this goal when you've only conceded the same goal a week ago?
Yeah, against Tottenham, yes, it's the same. Onana cannot go to the ball, I think.
You think it's a foul?
I think he cannot go to the ball. So he's trying to reach the ball, and some guys are not even looking to the ball. But I don't want to focus on that. I think we were. The good thing is we were near the goal, even with 10 men. That is a good thing. But we lost, and we continued our job.
What did you think of the red card for Bruno Fernandes? Did he need to be more careful with his challenge, considering he was on the booking already?
Yeah, of course we have to. It's so tough to win games in this league with 10 men, with the 11 men. With 10 men, it's more difficult. So we have to focus on that.
And of course, he scored one direct from a corner. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But first of all, Manchester United were down to 10 men by that stage. 2 yellow cards for their captain, Bruno Fernandes. Owen, and when you look at the 2 bookings in isolation, he can't have any complaints, can he?
No, he definitely can't. I mean, he's obviously pleading with the referee there, but Cunha was obviously the star player. You know, there he stops him, pulls him down. And this one, I mean, come on.
When you're on a yellow.
I know he cares, and he's the one that, you know, he tries to galvanise the team, but he's Man United's best player. Look, he's like, that's the easiest yellow ever. They need him out there. They need him creating chances. If he's not playing, they don't look like scoring. Losing him just, you know, that was the game for them.
Andre Onana, a little upset with the way he conceded and he felt was fouled from the corner. Any case whatsoever here for the United goalkeeper?
Well, we've looked at it carefully and closely. I actually think, I mean, he's sandwiched basically, isn't he? He's sandwiched. But there's nobody fouling him. He's just getting his path blocked. And it's actually Ugarte who pushes his marker into the path. Bueno actually gets pushed into the path of Onana. So it's actually Manchester. Look at Ugarte pushing him into that area. And then once it goes over his head and he's trying to backpedal, then his path is blocked. So no, I think it's correct to give it. It is an area that's creating a little bit of noise at the moment.
There you go. There they are, the second most in the division. And people will say, well, not all of those are Ruben Amorim. Well, let me tell you, 6 of them are in the last 5 games alone under the new Manchester United manager, who does have a set-piece coach. So is that an area of concern that they need to fix quickly?
Among the other ones. That's the problem.
How long's this list?
Well, I don't know. How long have you got? That's the problem. You've got too many issues that you got to fix. You know, goal scoring was a big issue. That's why Amorim came in, because he plays this beautiful attacking football. You don't score, now all of a sudden set pieces is a big issue. I look at United team, I don't see any partnerships. Every great team I've ever watched, I could tell you who's going to play in defence, midfield and attack. Every team. Don't care whether it was Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, City. You watch United now, you don't know who's going to play. So I think in terms of having a bit of consistency, goal scoring was a thing. Now they're conceding goals from set pieces. Like there's a lot of issues. The star players are 2 stars in a way. Marcus and Gaston's not barely even in the team anymore. So there's a lot of issues. I know it's going to be some short-term pain, like Ruben said before, to get to where they want to get. But right now there's a long season, and they've got to find a way to get more than they're getting out of what they got right now, in my opinion.
And of course they were pressing the 10 men to try and find an equaliser, and then got caught.
Yeah, I mean, this is understandable. Last sort of 5-10 minutes, you are pressing, and Garnacho loses the ball there, and it's what I mean. Martinez is stuck up the pitch. I mean, he shouldn't necessarily be so easy for them, but it is. But as you said, that's literally the last kick of the game. Martinez, as you see here, he's probably 5 yards out of position. It's just one long pass, and all of a sudden they're in. But I don't necessarily blame Manchester United for conceding that goal. I mean, it's the previous 98 minutes that there was the problem. You know, when you're chasing the game, that can happen. So it was, but there was, as Owen says, there's such a big list of things that are going wrong at the moment. And, you know, defensively they look okay, but they don't look dangerous at all going forward.
Free reign, go and enjoy yourself, go and have fun, right? And now he's been asked to play in a very specific role with a specific skill set. And you saw today in the first half how lost he was, didn't know what he was doing, he was coming into pockets, was looking around, didn't know how to press, in and out of possession, couldn't press, couldn't keep possession, and then he ends up getting sent off.
Well, let's have a look at the red card here. This was a second yellow, and there's not much could be done about this. You felt maybe even this could have been a straight red.
No, this is the first one here.
No, the first
one.
one
And he ends up giving the ball away, and then he runs back in, and then a petulant little flick out, gets his first yellow card, and he's arguing it, you know. And look how close he's getting to the referee. That's, you know, not great for him. And then right at the start of the second half, when your team needs you, again, gets pushed off the ball. He got pushed off the ball more tonight than I've ever seen any player. Matt Doherty pushed him off several times, and then he gets petulant, impetuous, and then he just sticks his foot up. And I tell you what, there's an argument that could have been a straight red. I mean, that is high, it's on the shin. It's probably not, but it's definitely a second yellow.
Just pure frustration brimming to the surface there. Yeah, so you've been asked to play a different position, like Damien suggested there. There's a whole lot of difference between playing number 10 with a midfield 4 behind you and narrowed up in a 3. You've got to play higher up the pitch on the inside in those little pockets. You don't get as much space. He had that free roll, dropping in deep, receiving the ball, getting turned, having 1-2 seconds to get his head up. He's a good passer with the ball, Fernandes. But when you receive the ball higher up the pitch, we are back to goal. The pressure comes quick. You haven't got that time, and he looks to be struggling at the moment. That particular role on the inside. Garnacho's another one as well. Yeah. Forged his reputation at United, playing left of a midfield 4. And I'm a huge fan of Garnacho. Receiving the ball wide, the game is very simple. Everything's happening on your inside. Peripheral vision's easy. You're beating your man 1v1. You're playing little combinations, and we're talking about him being the future maybe 6 months ago. Now in this system again, coming on the inside for a young player, that's difficult. You almost got to be coached a new position on the football pitch. So these are all the challenges. You could replicate that 4-6 times all around the pitch in terms of this particular system which Amram wants to put in place.
Just on the Bruno Fernandes one, right? He got red carded against Spurs earlier in the season. That was overturned. I think most people would say correctly. A few days later, he gets red carded again, and that one stuck in Europe against Porto. This is now his second red card of the season, having had that flirting with one against Spurs. He's now got a second one. I mean, that's
just a symptom, though, isn't it?
I know you're saying that it's frustration, but surely he's the captain. He's supposed to be leading the club. You can't do that if you're letting the frustration get the better of you.
Yeah, but that'd be the least of it. That's bubbling to the surface because he's not influencing the game. Yeah. He's getting the ball taken on him. He's not having the influence that he had previously in that different role. So that's all it is. I wouldn't be worried about that. For me, it's a symptom. Why is he getting those red cards? It's because of that, because he's slightly uncomfortable in that position, and because you can call it ego, maybe the position he's had at the football club, captain's armband. Now he's in a position where he can't influence the game. He can't be that leader, which he has been previously.
Like he always has had this role. When we saw the best of Bruno, he's a carefree kind of guy, right? And if he felt the middle was congested, he'd drift off wide. But you always had 2 centre midfield players, and he was playing as a 10, and he could drift and do what he wants, and he could just, and the team catered to him. But in that system, you have to play from that left-hand side. You have to know when to press, how to press, and where to press. Right? And the same in possession. You have to know when to come into the pocket. You have to know when to stretch it in behind. You have to know when you've got to go in and help the centre forward. It's a very technical position. It's a difficult position to play. It's incredibly difficult. And he hasn't got the discipline for it. I don't think he has the football smarts for it, but he has got a certain skill set, but it does not suit Ruben Amorim.
OK, Manchester United have a lot of issues at the moment. Bruno's only one of them. They've now conceded 8 set-piece goals in the last 7 matches. And this is the second time in the last 3 matches in all competitions that they've conceded a goal directly from a corner kick. Different goalkeeper, same issue.
Yeah, it's very similar. Bueno's the one, the Wolves defender, who actually makes contact with Onana. I'm actually surprised this isn't given as a free kick, and I'll tell you why. Because there is contact from behind Bueno. Have a look at Bueno here behind him. He nudges into the back of Onana. He impedes his ability.
There's nothing there, Kenny. Come on.
There's a little bit of contact there. My argument is if Bueno's making a legitimate attempt to head that ball, I think the contact's fair. But I think he knows that. He's clever, Bueno. He knows he can't head the ball. Have a look at the contact now. Bear there. That little bump into Onana is absolutely everything. It's not much. It's very subtle. It's clever play. But as I understand the rules, and I'm a natural defender, let everything go. But as I understand the rules, any type of contact there on the goalkeeper, when you're not looking to head the ball, generally speaking, that's given as a free kick.
No bueno is what Kenny's saying. No bueno. What do you reckon? Was that
no, I think that's a perfectly legitimate goal. If we can run it in again, Ugarte pushes Bueno into the position that he's in. And in fairness to Onana, he pushes off. And if you watch Ugarte here, look, as he gets involved with Bueno, now, he's got to protect his goalkeeper there. He's got to get him away from his goalkeeper. he actually forces him in. So when Onana takes the backward step, he's not expecting the player to be there. You know, he's got to be stronger. But look, as soon as he pushes him off, no idea he's behind him. He makes no attempt. Now, he doesn't impede him in any way insofar as he doesn't make a play. He doesn't step across him. He doesn't put his hand out. He doesn't interfere in him in any way. He's standing his ground. He's entitled to stand his ground. The goalkeeper has hands. He needs to get him up there. Like, first and foremost, his hands need to come up here and get a better contact on it than that. I think that's perfectly legitimate, to be honest with you.
I'd say that the problems that this Manchester United manager has, this is small detail. It really is the bigger picture stuff in terms of what we're talking about.
It's the easiest one to fix, though. Don't be letting goals in directly from corner kicks. I would have thought it's quite an easy one to fix.
No, I get you. A lot of club sports are struggling with that one. But the bigger picture, if they're going to improve, they're going to be successful. He's going to forge this identity, which is going to take United back up the division and challenging. He's got a huge amount of work to do. I mean, it's obvious to me he could play different. He could play 4-3-3 tomorrow, Amrin, with this team, and they do better. I think that's an absolute given. I think that's a given. But if he's fixed in his head and he's had these discussions with the people upstairs at Manchester United, this is why you're bringing me in, this is my system, my way or the highway, then he probably thinks, I've just got to plough through with this. I've got to take the pain over the next 6 months until he can get that core group of players into the football club that can play this system and that can improve Manchester United.
You're impressed by Cunha. You're impressed by Wolves in general, I think, Damien, weren't you?
They were good. I think the word he used at half-time was snappy. They were sharp, moved the ball really well, and led by Cunha, I thought was superb tonight. I mean, he really... we're talking about leadership in terms of, you know, a voice or being a solid defender, but leadership as well in what he did today, and that is just demand the football. Brilliant moments of skill, huge work rate, getting back. How Garnacho turns this over as easy as what he does. I think Manchester United are sending players up the pitch for a kind of a last stand. Garnacho just falls over, gives up the ball, and Cunha deserves that. I mean, listen, fair play to him for passing it. You see Harry Maguire there decided on Mazraoui for the cross. He does brilliant here. Cunha, very, very unselfish. Just passed that over to Hwang and got in, but he was superb tonight. He finished with the captain's armband, and it really was a captain's performance.
Yeah, it was interesting. We probably schooled Fernandes in terms. He played left of it, front three, very similar to Fernandes in the Manchester United game, but we saw the difference, how he was able to impact the game as an attacking player, just dropping off, receiving it in pockets, play 1-2 touch, getting into the box, actually affecting the game inside the penalty box, and defensive work as well was fantastic in terms of getting back, doubling up and making tackles for the team. That's what you need in that kind of system.
One more game.
Looking from the outside at Sporting Lisbon, he saw a challenge, and now from the inside, he thinks that challenge is a lot bigger than perhaps he perceived from the outside.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only saving grace is they've got a really good manager there, and he's a brilliant communicator, but it's going to be a lot harder than I think he thought. I think he would have gone home, and he wouldn't have said this probably to us, but I think he would have said to his Portuguese staff when they were having a glass of wine back after the Ipswich game, this is going to be a lot harder. You know, because everybody give you a game. Look, Ipswich, they give you a game like that. Wolves give you a game like that, and then all of a sudden the top team. So they're going to have to give him time, as Mo said. He's a great manager, but I think personnel-wise, they don't have what he needs at the moment.
And do you think there's going to be a lot of painful days like today, given the fact that essentially is going to be the group of players we think until May?
Yeah, I mean... 3-0 at home to Bournemouth, 2-0 away to, being beat 5-0 on aggregate and against
defeats in 22
and Bournemouth. I mean, it can't get much more painful for Manchester United fans, can it? So, yeah, there could be more painful days ahead. And what Manchester United fans need to see is progress. Getting beat is one thing, but getting beat like that is that's not progress. You can't have a wasted game. Even if you get beat...
You've got to learn something.
You've got to learn something. There can never be a wasted game. And Bournemouth and Wolves, the last two games, I don't think he will have learned anything apart from, I've got a moderate bunch of players at the moment. That's it.
OK.
The home support, and why not? What an evening, as far as Matheus Cunha is concerned. You pointed him out as the main danger man, which, to be honest, wasn't that difficult, but he came up with the goods.
He was outstanding. I thought, when it's a nerve-wracking game, for everybody, but he, right from the start, showed a lot of confidence and belief. You saw with the flicks, but he's in and out of possession. His whole game was fantastic. Then those match-winning qualities. Yes, the corner, he fires it in. He said he meant it. Unselfish at the end. But I just thought, if anyone was going to win it for Wolves, he was the one, and from start to finish, outstanding.
Wes, you know, when some players say they mean it, you raise a few eyebrows, you're a bit sceptical. But when it comes to Cunha, you know genuinely he's going for goal.
Yeah, I think they've worked on that, like he said, and I think the manager said, listen, I want you to try and score. You know, we'll sort out the rest, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, he was brilliant in the whole game. You know, he's one of them players that you can take responsibility. You know, he's the guy that'll step up, and today he surely did that. And with a goal and assist, he was brilliant, and United couldn't handle him today.
So come on, Matt, what did you make of the Wolves' performance over the 90 minutes?
I thought from start to finish they were really good. I thought a few cagey moments, but I think they showed a bit of everything. They showed some good quality, some flair, not taking risks at certain times. I think from back to front, every player was minimum 7 out of 10. I thought Totti Gomez was outstanding. Yeah. And at the end, even though against 10 men, this is Manchester United. They're going to have spells. They put pressure on. They stood strong, got the goal to win it. So I thought all around, Vito Pereira will be absolutely delighted, but now it's about recovery because they did work hard out there, and going into the Tottenham game, they've left a lot out on Molineux.
How much did they impress you, Wes? I mean, did they look like a group of players who are doing all they can to impress this new manager?
They certainly did, and they definitely didn't look like a team that was fighting for relegation at the moment. They looked well organised, they had the energy, but like they've said, they want to work for the manager. You know, the manager gives them that inspiration, and you could see that on the pitch all over, running, and they put a lot of pressure on Man United, who just couldn't handle it.
I think the crowd played their part in this game. Matt, you spoke about this renewed optimism, which I know sounds almost premature after just one win. But there's a sense of belief amongst the Wolves fans that with a new voice in the dressing room and with the quality of players, let's admit that they've got fair few here, the only way is up right now.
Well, Wes said that to me. He looked at the team sheet, he said, this is a good team, this is a good squad, and they've got some really good players. So, yeah, optimism is right. Again, as we walk into the place, fans are going to me, big man, we're going to be all right. We're going to get out of this. And I think there's that real belief. So, yes, Wolves could always score goals, but that's back-to-back clean sheets as well. So if you're going to have success in the league, clean sheets is what gets you up there. So back-to-back clean sheets, that work rate, that desire, and the fans, sometimes it's up to the players to get the fans to lift them, and I think that performance, I think it's a bit of both, but when Molineux's rocking, it is a really good place to play as a home player, but difficult for the away side.
Robbie, when you look at that match, and of course it's massive congratulations to Vito Pereira, but I want to start by asking you about the Bruno Fernandes sending off and the change that made at 0-0.
It made all the difference to the game. The game was pretty even before that. We talked about that at half-time. That's 3 reds this year, though one was rescinded, I think
after Tottenham,
after the Tottenham game. That's really bad, really unprofessional. You know, as a captain of the football club, not even being a captain, for any player, experienced player, to do that is inexcusable. If you can't control your emotions, and we've seen this before from Bruno Fernandes, and I've been one of his biggest fans, and I know he's a little bit like that, but he's a brilliant player. Today, I don't know, I just felt that was a really bad example of petulance, unnecessary, twice. We're going to take a look at them in the highlights, but 2 over-aggressive challenges in the referee's face, 2 yellow cards. You've absolutely cost your team and your club everything today.
Having said that, they barely had a look with him or without him.
They didn't, but it's disappointing for us, Rebecca. It must be even more disappointing for Ruben Amorim that he doesn't quite know this team, and it's another 90 minutes when we haven't learnt anything because they got it down to 10 men and they've had to struggle to stay in the game. But there's no creativity. I said at half-time I wasn't sure they were particularly playing the ball and building as well as maybe Musty thought. We've had no real shots or danger at goal. And the really funny thing is, last week all the news was about mice infestation at the football club and a leaky ceiling in the press room. Those are things you can deal with, get somebody in. I'll tell you, the problems they've got on the pitch, that's a bigger job and a lot more serious trouble for Ruben Amorim to sort out.
Bruno Fernandes' ridiculous red card and Endre Onanar's pathetic goalkeeping combined to see United implode in nightmare second half at Molineux. Plenty of people will have endured a nightmarish Christmas, having burnt the turkey or offended a relative with a crude joke, but not many will have had a worse festive period than Ruben Amorim. Amorim has been desperately trying to get a grip of the job he inherited at Manchester United. He has been drilling his new players on the training pitch. He has been setting the ground rules while trying to motivate the troops. The ex-Sporting Lisbon boss arrived brimming with excitement, convinced he could turn things around and make his mark on one of the world's biggest clubs. He decided to stamp his authority on things by freezing out the local hero, Marcus Rashford. The ex-Sporting Lisbon boss arrived brimming with excitement, convinced he could turn things around and make his mark on one of the world's biggest clubs. He decided to stamp his authority on things by freezing out the local hero, Marcus Rashford. Rashford has now been missing from 4 straight match-day squads and was absent at Molineux. That storyline has been and gone, his omission no longer a surprise. But the desired effect of pushing aside a United stalwart, who has been at the club since he was a child and who is on £325,000 per week, has not materialised. Amorim wants to plant his flag and change the rotten culture at a club all too familiar with mediocrity. On this evidence, he still has an awful lot to do, because with Rashford sat at home, Amorim was let down by 2 of his most senior and important players. Bruno Fernandes should know better. He is the United captain and the appointed leader on the pitch. He also doesn't need a good memory to recall how damaging a lack of discipline can be, having been shown a red card in back-to-back matches against Tottenham and Porto as September turned to October. Back then, we were told he was unlucky and that it wouldn't happen again. Well, it did. Fernandes was on a yellow card when he flew into a challenge against Wolves skipper Nelson Semedo, clearly catching him on the ankle. He put on the usual show of disbelief as referee Tony Harrington produced the red card, but we all knew Fernandes had failed in his most basic of duties again. United were so nearly punished minutes later, only for Jurgen Strand Larsson's eagerness to save them, as he strayed ahead of the ball, allowing VAR to rule out his close-range header for offside. But Wolves didn't have to wait much longer for their opener, and they had another senior United player to thank. Mateus Cunha, the game's standout performer, couldn't believe his luck when his in-swinging corner flew over the crowded penalty area and nestled in the far corner. Rather than focusing on the ball, Onana was too busy shoving the Wolves player in front of him in a vain attempt to try and manufacture a free kick. It didn't come and he was left with egg on his face. It was the 10th goal United had conceded from a corner in the Premier League this season. Only Wolves have conceded more. It shows the challenge facing Amorim, who seems to be focusing on the tactical side of things, namely getting his players used to the 3-4-3 formation rather than the basics. While Vitor Pereira is enjoying a textbook example of the fabled new manager bounce, having began his reign with successive wins, his Portuguese counterpart's very short-lived honeymoon period is over. His substitutions made a difference, as United pushed for an equaliser, but it wasn't to be in the West Midlands fog as Hwang Hee-chan added a second in the 98th minute on the counter-attack. Victory pulled Wolves out of the relegation zone, but defeat, their 3rd in succession, left United in 14th place, just 7 points better off and 11 points adrift of the Premier League's top 4. They will be delighted to wave goodbye to 2024.